Okay, hi there. Good morning, everyone. And thanks, Nikos, for the little introduction there. Okay, so as you see, the title of my talk is The Way Forward with 2FA. And I'll give you a little bit of a running order to show you what I'm going to be doing. So there it is. It says running order. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the acronyms that are in use and that we sometimes hear. Then I hope to tell you why we need to use 2FA. I'll show you a few resources and sources. I've got some takeaways, and then hopefully there might be some questions. So without further ado, I'll move on to a little bit about me. There's my name, that's to remind me. Okay, so I'm Mark Giles. You might be thinking, who's the granddad here? Well, yeah, I am granddad, and I've got 4 grandchildren. They're all in their teens. And I grew up in the 60s when the space race was on. And I was born in the same year as Yuri Gagarin, in actual fact. I was into robots, remote control toys, electronics, the Sinclair Spectrum, the ZX81. Incidentally, today is the anniversary of the Spectrum, 40 years ago today. It came out, so that gives you some idea of how old I am and what I was doing then. Just a moment. I don't need to do that. Okay. Yeah, sorry about this, guys. I wanted to also tell you that a bit about my background. I started off in banking, and then I did a career change after about 10 or so years and did a course in computing in the 90s. It was very early days then. And I thought to myself, I want to work in this sort of industry because I've been doing the Sinclairs and stuff. So then I got a job at BT. So I did a bit of computer operating, and I did a bit of training, and that was great fun. Then I did lots of other little jobs and things, but the computing was always beckoning me. So in about 2012, I set up my own little business. It was called Computer Coaching at Home. And I just gave out lessons. And I thought, actually, there's more demand for this. There's actually a need for some tech support. So I changed the name to Hereford Computer Help and set up a website, herefordcomputerhelp.co.uk. And that's where I am now, but I'm actually moving into other things. So why CyberCity? That's my handle. Well, CyberCity is the nickname that was given to Hereford when CB radio was on. So I took that, and in front of it, I put cyber because Hereford's got its own cyber quarter or cyber centre. So it all just sort of tied in. So that's my little name. And I started to get into cyber security in a very loose way about 2 years ago, during the first COVID. So that's why I'm here, and that's why my names are as shown. Okay, so that's enough about me, I hope. Here's a little acronym buster that I put together. Part of the problem is there are so many terms, aren't there? So it's no wonder there's confusion in all this. So SFA, single factor authentication, that's your bog standard username and password. It's just not enough anymore. They're just being cracked and they're being hacked, and it's too easy to break. So we then have a term called 2FA, two-factor authentication. That basically means exactly 2 factors for authentication. And 2FA is a subset of MFA, which is multi-factor authentication. So 2FA is a multi-factor authentication, but MFA usually means more than 2. So it'd be 2 plus another one, most likely. But unfortunately, they do get changed around quite a lot, but they can mean different things. I'll cover that a bit later on. And we've also got a thing called one-time password, OTP. You get those sometimes when you click on a link in an email and it gets you through. 2SV stands for two-step verification. Again, it gets used a lot interchangeably with MFA, 2FA. I will cover the semantics on that a bit later on, but its main thing is to understand that they can mean the same things, but we do need to do something more than the single factor authentication, which is username and password. You'll hear me talk about the NCSC, the National Cybersecurity Centre. And I've just put in the CISA, that's in this case, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, because I took a little bit of something from their site. Okay, so why two-factor authentication? Well, as I just said, passwords alone are just not enough. We keep hearing about compromises, data breaches, people using passwords, reusing passwords, people sharing passwords. And in fact, the NCSC, remember who I said they were? They say that two-step verification, often shortened to 2SV, provides a way of double-checking that you really are the person you're claiming to be when you're using online services such as banking, email, or social media. It's available on most of the major online services. And they go on to say two-step verification is also known as two-factor authentication and multi-factor authentication. So there you are, straight from NCSC. They're saying, we're using all those terms interchangeably. Adding two-factor authentication is something that can be done easily. Well, I hope to show you that this is something you really can do very easily. And any two-step verification is going to be better than not having anything at all. It's a bit like, think of an onion, the layers of an onion. And as you open those layers, the harder it is to get into the side or whatever. So you're protecting yourself with layers. Okay, so let's talk about the factors that we have. So when we look at 2FA, we're looking at two factors of authentication, which could be something you know or something you have. Sorry, so something you know and something you have, e.g. your smartphone. And then MFA, multi-factor authentication, is two or more factors. And this brings in another layer, which would be something that you know, i.e. the password, that's called the knowledge factor. Something that you have, that's the possession factor, such as your smartphone. And the third one, which is really interesting, is something that you are, which is a biometric, such as a fingerprint. And that's sometimes called the inherence factor. So what's the difference between MFA and two-factor authentication? Well, the NCSC says that two-step verification provides a way of double-checking that you really are the person you are claiming to be. MFA will actually, I've got wrong there, I do apologize. MFA is two or more, basically. So when you set up, I say we're trying to contact two-factor authentication. When we set up 2SV, the second step is something along the lines of a text message or something that's created by an app. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. The app that I like to use is called Google Authenticator. So let's have a look. Have I got that there? No, I haven't. Okay. So when you go to your various apps, such as Google Play and iOS for Apple, so Google Play runs the Android store and App Store runs the iOS store, you just search for Google Authenticator. And it'll install on either of those devices, and you go ahead and follow the instructions. It really is simple to do it. What this app does, it creates a unique 6-digit time-based code for you every time you decide to log into one of your accounts. So the procedure is you add the app to it and you verify yourself with Google. And then you visit the sites that you wish to add two-factor authentication to. And as you do that, there will be a handshake. That is where your mobile device talks to the server authenticators, and it will immediately code your phone so that it will generate the unique codes for you in the future. So this is actually all tied in with that particular phone. And then once you've got that going, the next time that you try to log in from, you know, a non-usual device, you'll be prompted to go to your Google Authenticator and supply a code. So you'll get your little mobile phone out and you'll go to Google Authenticator. You'll look up the account that you wish to log into, and there will be a code, a unique 6-digit code that only lasts about 30 seconds. And at that moment, you put that code into the account that you're trying to sign into, and if you get it right, you're in. So there are others as well. I like to use Google Authenticator, but Microsoft does one as well. Microsoft's got quite a good one as well. I haven't used that, but either are available. Okay, so move on to a little bit more. I realize that what I've just done there is a little bit of a brisk introduction to it. But what I'm trying to get across is that the simplicity of setting up one method of additional logging in is going to be better than nothing. When I talk about better than nothing, we probably all get these SMS codes come through from various places. It's an SMS or a voice code. It's better than nothing, but it's easily broken into. So the alternative is to get the push codes that actually get sent by Apple. That happens particularly when you log into your Apple ID. You'll notice you'll get a generated code that comes through and says, are you trying to sign in? And it's got to happen there, and then you'll get a code on your mobile or other Apple device. You'll also have probably seen Google prompts sent to your mobile device, etc. Now, even better is what we were just talking about, the Google Authenticator app. And I say Microsoft does one as well. Now, something I haven't touched on yet is the hardware keys. So you may have heard of these little things. They're called, one of the branded ones is Yubikeys, I believe. They're operated by Yubikeys. The idea is that they add an extra layer of security, and they help to protect against automated bots and targeted attacks. And they're phishing resistance too. So it's actually a piece of hardware, like a little USB memory stick. You stick it into your device and you press a button, and it will immediately give you the authorization through that. Various manufacturers, hundreds of apps and onlines that they work with. They're not hard to use, but that's going to be my next journey into this field. I'm going to get myself one of these little Yubikeys keys and see how they go. The texts and the authentication apps up above don't offer quite as much protection. But what I'm trying to stress is that we need to set something up better than just your username and password. Okay, so I've put some links here into a slide. So I will make the slides available. I don't know how we'll do that. Nicholas will probably work that out with me. There's a really good link there that NCSC have provided to tell you exactly how to go through with it and what to do. It's easier to follow one of these things from the people that know what they're doing. You can install Google Authenticator on iOS with that link, or on Android with that one. Yeah, I was talking about the 2FA, the 2SV. There's a little link there that tells you about, they do go into quite a bit of discussion about two-factor authentication, two-step verification. There are ways that people interpret things differently. You say it might mean one thing. The main thing is, let's get people doing something in addition to just using username and password. It's just not good enough anymore. And I hope that all of you will now take away from this that it's really important to use another form of identification, verification, authentication on your key sites. Let's start with your email. Start with your email account. That's what I did first. And then I added my bank accounts and then the social media, because social media is a very common threat vector, if that's the right word, to come in and attack someone. I do highly recommend the NCSC site. That's that first link there. Go to that link or just Google ncsc.gov.uk. Other search engines are available, of course. Little ABC, little ABC thanks. Thanks to Nikos for giving me the chance to suggesting that I might like to talk. And I've also spoken to him a lot in the past, and he did a radio interview for me as well. Thanks to Binary Sleeper, who was on just now, before I came into the meeting. He's given me some little tips along the way. And to James, Coffee Fueled. I was going to have a session with him, but I couldn't find the time myself. I've been very busy working, but he gave me a lot of information in a very short time and in a really good way to understand. So big thanks to James. Okay, I'm going to leave you with a little thought. That's my thought for you. Prove it's you with 2. Okay, prove it's you with 2. So you've got the 2 steps. That quote comes from the CISA site that we're telling you about. And I thought that's really good. And the graphic actually comes from the NCSC, but I thought, let's do 2 things and you'll be doing a lot to help your online security. And that's about it, folks. So thank you very much. If you do have any questions, by all means, let's see if I can help you.
Yep, we do have a few questions for you. The first one is from Skelly, so I'll take it away.
Thanks, Nikos. Yeah, so my question is, once I open up the Twitch chat to find it. Alrighty. So question for you, Mark. Is there any way to bypass 2FA or multi-factor authentication? Is it possible to have your account hacked even with it enabled?
That's a good question. I don't know. It depends. What immediately springs to mind is that you may have also had other sections of authentication set up. And so, of course, if there are others that have been set up for that account, then that way could allow someone in via that route rather than the normal way. I may need to check it further onto that. But that's not really a very good answer. I do realize that. But my aim is to try using the two-factor is to stop the drive-bys, to stop the multi-people really trying seriously to get in, credential stuffing, that sort of thing, using frequently used passwords and stuff like that. And this isn't sort of what should we say, CIA, FBI, MI5 level. We're just saying, look, let's stop the bulk of attacks with just one more step. If you're needing more protection, then we're probably going to need to look into it a bit more.
Makes sense. Thank you for that answer. Nikos, you want to take the next question?
Yeah, a small question from Ray. Starting with a statement. One of the biggest controversies in InfoSec is about SMS being used for MFA. You've cited this a little bit earlier. We all know how insecure it is, but is SMS MFA, too many acronyms, better than no MFA at all? Specifically for people that are, let's say, more at risk, let's say grandparents, the more technologically susceptible people out there.
Yeah, most definitely. Really good point. And thank you for raising it. Yeah, most definitely. Anything that you can do that puts another block, another wall between you and somebody, some bad actor, some bad imposter trying to get in is going to be good. Yeah, by all means, nothing wrong with an SMS text. We could say that there are ways, obviously, there's ways around a lot of these things, but it's going to help. It's going to help. It's another layer. username and password is just literally not enough. So yeah, use an SMS text verification by all means.
So Liz Wendt commented quickly that that you could get hacked if you, in the period of the renewal of your 2FA code, send the code to someone else, or if you like send the SMS, that you received to another person. I think that's been used a lot in scams. Do you think there's ways to detect these types of scams? When, like, how would you advise someone to avoid these kinds of scams?
Yeah, that's tricky. I would say the more methods that you have is going to be the better. You don't give the codes to anyone else. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I would say don't share your codes to somebody else, and don't you'll get these people phoning you up and say, oh, can you just do that thing? Don't trust anyone. The first thing is you've got to do is take 5 and say, nah, this sounds dodgy. If it sounds dodgy, it probably is dodgy. So just stop and think. It's really just about, we've got to do a lot more to protect ourselves, I reckon.
Definitely. Do I take the last question? Edie? You're muted.
I'm really good at technology, I promise. All right, last question is, let me check. Would you recommend considering usability of MFA implementation as a criteria and whether or not to adopt it? And which to adopt, how would you weigh that against the security posture improvement?
Wow. Can you read it again a little bit? Yeah, sure.
I'll slow down.
Okay.
Would you recommend considering usability for an MFA implementation as a criteria and whether to adopt it and which to adopt? And how would you weigh that against the security posture improvement from Coffee Field?
Yeah, I mean, usability is obviously going to be crucial. I mean, we've had enough difficulty, haven't we, getting people to use stronger passwords and not reusing passwords. So yeah, to get anyone to adopt something in addition to that is going to be hard. So usability is going to be key. I said key there. I mean, maybe we need to think, let's move on to the hardware keys and let's use those if that's possible. But of course, there is a charge. The advantage of the applications, the apps, is that they're free to use and they're pretty easy to get people to adopt. The keys, there is a charge involved, but they are possibly maybe harder, and they may not suit everyone to have to wander around with a key. So yeah, it's certainly going to be important to think of the usability, but what I'm trying to do is sow the seed. And if we could all go away from this and sow that seed in our relatives, friends, groups, are you using 2SV, 2FA, get people talking about it, and then the more of us that start to use it, then hopefully it get adopted.
I have a hardware key for my password manager, and as I was setting up this computer for the event, I was like, I need to access my password manager from this computer. Do you have your hardware key? Do I? So yeah, it is. Yeah, you usually carry around your phone, right? But like an additional pair of bits and bobs, that's
it's another thing, isn't it? Yeah, with the keys would be probably good. I mean, again, the practicalities, I haven't seen how strong or robust they are, but it's something we'll have to look into. By the way, if you are using an authenticator, you do need to print out your backup codes, because if you lost your phone, it would be important to have some other way of getting back into your account. Otherwise, you're going to be locked out. I've got a little slide on that. There it is. It's there's a link there, and you do need to have a copy of your backup codes in case you do lose your phone. But it's all about getting us a second layer. Getting a second layer into your security is going to be key.
Awesome. I don't see any more questions, so yep. Thanks, Mark, for joining.
Thank you, Nikos. Thank you, Eden. Cheers.
Of course. Cheers. Take care.
Cheers.